Hello, hello.
Hello, Nick.
Hello.
Nick Venable with Cinema Blend here. Thank you so much for taking the time and for being brilliant people in general, obviously.
Now.
But Stephen, Netflix is like a Blackadder fan's dream with Rowan on Man versus Bee, and you now in Sandman. I wondered, is there at this point in your career any hesitation or nervousness in taking on a role in a project as esteemed as this?
It's no, I think it's one of the real pleasures of the way television and film have developed in the last 20 years is that you do get these really exciting projects that you just feel honored to be a part of. I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but the Sandman is for most people one of the masterpieces in graphic novels of the past 30, 40 years now. And I was, because I've known Neil for some time, I know how much it means to him and how much it meant to get it right. You know, there was, it reminded me of how my friend Douglas Adams, with his Hitchhiker's Guide, if only he'd lived another 10 years, they really could have done it properly. The technology, but not just the technology, the budget and the will to make things properly and give them due care and attention is at a high pitch at the moment. And so it's a kind of easy call, I found.
Next question is for Danielle.
Hi, Danielle Ryan /film. Loved the show. And I was wondering, how did you develop Gilbert and Rose's easy, relaxed sort of relationship? Like you two sort of seem like you just gel the second you're on screen together. And I was wondering how you managed that.
Yeah, it was just completely natural, really. We just like showed up to set and it was just like, hello.
Yeah, we didn't have any rehearsals or get to know period.
Exactly.
But she, as you can see, is a very easy person to get on with.
Likewise.
Thank you. That was the correct answer.
Yeah. We're just lucky that we were able to get along like that and just talk and have a genuine friendship there that showed on screen.
Thank you.
And the next one.
Next question is for Adam.
Orpheus, hey there, I'm back. Okay, good. I thought, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right, Vanesu? Yeah, your performance was extraordinary, and I had not heard of you before. I'm sorry, but how did you get cast on this show, and where did you come from?
Yeah, firstly, thank you very much. And I auditioned. It was one of the auditions that found its way into my inbox. And so I had an agent and that I'd been with for like maybe a year or more that sent it over. Actually, I kind of like left that agent at the time, but they sent it over anyway. And I did the audition and I'm thankful I was lucky enough to get cast. Before that, I did some small things, I did like a few short films. I was the lead in a short film, and then I did like a movie thing, feature film, independent thing, a few commercials, just really small stuff, but I just started off small and built up, and then suddenly this came.
You're definitely ready for the prime time.
Isn't she just? I quite agree. And of course, it is a thrilling thing to work with someone who is such a natural actor and so easy to work with, but also knowing that they're a find for the audience, that the audience will be enchanted, because you only get one chance to play as an unknown, and that means that the audience don't know your limits. They don't know what you can do, and so it's a very exciting thing to watch the newcomers. And anyway, sorry, I mustn't keep blowing smoke up you, but she is you're quite right, she's terrific, and it was an honor to work with her.
Thank you.
I still don't think we've reached your limits either.
Now then.
Sci-Fi Vision has the next question.
Hi, I'm Jamie from Sci-Fi Vision. Thanks for talking to us. This kind of leads into my question. Vanesu, obviously this is then your first big production. What did you sort of learn about yourself as a performer from working on the show and working with other actors? And then Stephen, is there still things you learn even now?
What did I learn? Well, I learned a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of stuff mainly about kind of, I think, everything outside of myself, you know, just being on set for a prolonged period of time and, you know, really digesting scripts, especially whole scripts where like there's just so many scenes and so many things that you've got to read. I learned to pace myself, and I learned kind of, I guess, how to manage myself, because this was my first opportunity to have a prolonged period of filming. That was the biggest learning curve for me.
Yeah, and I think you'll get the same answer from actors even older than me, is that every day is a school day with acting. You can't, and also you can't rely on it. I mean, there's a famous story about Laurence Olivier. One of his performances was so great that the audience stood he'd got a standing ovation every night, but this one just went on and on and on. He was particularly astonishing that night. And then he ran off stage and slammed his door. And one of the actors was sent to find out why he could be so annoyed. And they knocked on his door and said, "Larry, what's the matter? Go away." He said, "But don't you know how brilliant you were tonight?" He said, "Of course I fucking know, but I don't know why." and so even a great actor who is brilliant is afraid because they don't know why they're brilliant that particular time. You can't bottle it. So every day is an adventure. I mean, you have to hope that you've got enough technique to be able to convince people, but you don't want to use that. You want to be just in the moment. All the old cliches are there, but and every scene you do has never been done before in filming. It's never been done, and so it's always an adventure. And I just had a great time, and we were all off the leash because it was probably the first job any of us had done since lockdown. And so it was thrilling to be amongst human beings, let alone to be doing such a great project.
All right, thank you so much.
Real pleasure.
Back to Nick.
I'd kind of just want to go, Stephen, can you just tell another story? And but I guess for Vanesu and you, Stephen, are there any filming locations that stick out? And
in my case, selfishly, because we were down in Surrey, I think it was, in a sort of quarry for the one of the final scenes of episode 10, where I get turned into something that is a spoiler alert, and it was on one of the hottest days we had that year. It's not the hottest day, and as you probably noticed, I wear entirely green thick tweed waistcoat, coat, and cape, and hat, and moustache, and it was very hard to think of anything other than wanting to dive into an ice bath. So the secret is the agony, gentlemen, ladies, the agony of having to perform. Didn't you find that? But we coped, didn't we? Because we have very kind people giving us fans. But you had some great locations to work in as well.
Yeah. The first location that we filmed at on my first day, which was the scene where we arrived in England to see Unity, and it was a gorgeous, gorgeous big building. And I think that was it was so nice to just like look at it. I love old buildings, so it was just a real treat.
Next question is for Danielle.
And similarly, just as there's these incredible sets and locations, your costumes have so much detail. You were talking about the green tweed, but are there any little details in the costumes that people should look for that you think really match the character, or something that you personally wanted to put there?
Well, it was a prop in my case, but I loved having a sword stick. So I could just like that, a little hissing noise of the steel coming out. I don't usually get trusted with weapons for very good reasons. So it was quite exciting, wasn't it? Our first scene, in fact, was the bit where I had to use it. I'm hopeless at that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, your costume was one of the more normal costumes.
Yeah, just regular clothes. I mean, Rose clearly likes pantsuits a lot. I mean, I don't know if they were technically classed as that, but they looked like that.
You managed to avoid the Hillary Clinton look, you'd be pleased to know.
Yes. She had rings. She had a ring that we decided was from her mother, who is now gone. She's gone. So I can't remember which finger I had it on, but there was like a cross. There was a cross ring on, like, I think maybe not my wedding ring finger.
But you're given the amulet as well, right?
Yes, and I was given that. So that was very nice. Can't remember which fingers they went on. But yeah, I guess her rings, they have a lot of significance.
Thank you so much.
Adam?
Was there anything you remember discussing with Neil Gaiman in particular that allowed you to find your character more easily?
Well, I had a Zoom with Neil and Alan, and I was aware that the character of Gilbert was based on G.K. Chesterton, the writer, and the creator of Father Brown, who was a favorite writer of Neil's when he was young, and happened to have been a favorite writer of mine as well. So it was rather pleasing because, given who the character truly is in the background, if it had just been a Victorian gentleman, it would have been quite hard to hang any personality on it. But knowing that Chesterton, this paradoxicalist, as he's often called, someone who sees the nature of things in an unusual way with a little twist usually, and occasionally, and I bore you at one point at the end of the card journey where I go on about how everything is paradoxical, is that hope is hope is there because things are hopeless, and desire is there because we're undesirable, and how everything is a reflection of its negative or whatever, is a very Chestertonian way of looking at things. So I enjoyed that, even though it won't be picked up on. It's fun to inhabit something like that, I think.
Yes. What was the question?
Yes. It was a good one.
Was there anything in particular that Neil Gaiman told you to help you get in touch with your character?
Okay. I wasn't actually able to meet or speak personally with Neil until afterwards. I met him for the first time in person this year when we went to New York, and before I saw him briefly on a Zoom read through that we had as the whole cast for episode 7 and 8. But I spoke mostly with Alan. And was there anything that helped me get in touch with her? I think I was already very in touch with Rose, and I was very fortunate because we're very similar. And he just kind of just gave me a rundown of her and of how she was in the show and how that differed to the comic. And that gave me a bit of background, but it was more so my deep diving into like me kind of constructing Rose as a person beyond the comic that really kind of helped me get in touch with her.
Jamie has the last question.
You talk about similarities and getting in touch with her, but what were sort of for both of you, the difficulties that you had connecting with the characters? Was there anything?
I think in a way it's quite easy because the world, or indeed one should say worlds, that are presented are so unusual and so daring in that they penetrate the membrane between the real and the illusory, or the real and the dreamlike, that in a sense the job of the actors is to be absolutely as real as possible, otherwise the whole thing floats away. So you've got to be anchored in a truth, and you've only got to look at Vanesu's performance to see she is a genuine, I know that sort of person, and who's having to come to the decision to become a mother at a young age, as it were, to her younger brother, to take responsibility, to fight for things against some quite frightening, if that had been ethereal and to do with, despite the, nature as a dream vortex, as we discover, it would have been lost. So in a sense, it's not easy, but the role is clear, I think, if you're an actor in such things, is that you mustn't be aware that you're inside something astonishing that's to do with fantasy or reality, but that you're grounded, and then it all makes sense, I think. Do you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah. I think it was definitely, I don't think, when I think of, our time filming, I don't think of anything particularly difficult, thankfully. I think the only thing maybe was conjuring up emotional responses sometimes, because I felt a bit blocked up in myself. Like in my personal life, I felt a bit blocked up. So I wasn't as willing to explore very vulnerable places in front of everyone, because I was like, oh dang, if I start, I don't know if I'm gonna stop. And I don't know if I'm ready to feel a lot of pain today. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Real pleasure. Nice talking to you all.
We have time for one more question.
Oh, we do.
Actually.
Good. Yeah.
Jamie Steinberg, go ahead.
Stephen, this is such an interesting role for you, and you're with a magical cane as well. Can you talk about working with such a unique prop?
It's a dream, isn't it? We have to be careful about using the word dream, but it is. It's a long-held ambition to use a sword stick like that. Even though I honestly wouldn't recommend anyone to be within 6 feet of me when I'm holding such a thing, because I'm the clumsiest, most uncoordinated person yet devised by nature. But it was a real pleasure to be in something so complete of itself. You know, I think one of the delights of acting is dressing up, you know, is the primal pleasure of your first meeting with the wardrobe department and the decision about how things should be, what color should it be. We knew it should be tweed, and as in everything in this, there's reference to the original graphic novels, the comic frames that have been drawn by the artists who worked with Neil on that, but it's part of the building of a character is that excitement about and those pince-nez, as I insist on calling them, the French name for them, those little spectacles that spring onto your nose, that literally pinch nose. And once you've got those, you almost don't need to act. It sort of does it for you.
Yes, I get that.
And the moustache, which my husband pointed out to me when he saw a first photograph with you, he said, "Oh, it's on wonkily." He said, "No, it isn't. Of course, your face is wonky." And that is the sad truth, is that I have a bent nose. So whenever I have a fake moustache or a real one, as I sort of have at the moment, it always looks as if it's slightly put on wrong. But if you put it on right, it looks even wronger. Anyway, sorry. I've bagged all your answer. You should be answering this now.
No, was it not?
What did you wear? We talked about your pantsuit at some depth, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I wore
Props,
very boring things.
You had, I noticed, it's so funny, isn't it? You can't help noticing it. If it's an Apple production, everybody has iPhones, of course. And this, I thought, now hang on, it's not Sony, so they're not having Sony phones. It's not it's Warner Brothers and Netflix. But you had you have one of the big screen unfoldable ones? One character has a foldable phone, don't they? I remember thinking, oh, that's quite cool. That's really pathetic. But isn't it surprising how little technology is in it? It's set in the present day mostly. Obviously, it goes back. But there's your laptop for your writing your novel at the end. And you're on the phone a bit in the car. But it's so refreshing, isn't it? That you don't have a story that's dependent on mobile phones and technology and social media, that they all live proper lives, old school.
Yeah, I think it's very nice. Just keeps you very grounded in the reality and like the events and them existing as humans. Yeah.
It's also great to have on set little, gosh, what's called time? Your brother, Jed.
Eddie.
Eddie. To have little Eddie running around, who was a ball of fire. He was so energetic and charming, wasn't he?
Yes.
That always helps to have a child on set, because it keeps you from talking lazily about things that you shouldn't, and also someone to entertain and to remind you of how little energy you have yourself, because the energy they have is so impressive.
Exactly.
There we are. Don't know what we were babbling about there, but it was enjoyable.
Beautiful.